Have you ever felt?
Are you listening?
Good afternoon. This is Drive Time with Dave. I'm Dave. I'll be your driver. Today's topic, question and answers. Question and answers on how to make money the real way. That's going to be the title. How to make money the real way. The real way is working, buying, reselling, doing service work, scaling a company, making lots and lots of money. Let's stop pretending that there's some way online to make a living without working. I also would appreciate if everybody that watches my video would like it, maybe even subscribe, click the little notification thing if you'd like to see my videos. I mean, if you don't like my video, I mean, okay, feel free to click the dislike button. That's, you know, my feelings about you clicking the dislike button, it won't be heard. I won't tell you whether I'm glad or sad. But I always heard the old saying, I can get glad in the same pants I got mad in. That's probably what I'll do. I'll just get glad in the same pants I got mad in. So, dislike it if you like. Or, if there's something that I'm saying that you don't like, why don't you put it in the comments? Right down there. Say it. Just say whatever you want. I do not have some crazy habit of deleting comments. Go back and look at all my videos. I leave them all. Good, bad, or otherwise. They're all there. Okay, so. Back to the regularly scheduled show. How to make money. All right, so today's topic is a question from a viewer was, how do I negotiate with a pawn shop manager to purchase all of their video games? Well, I wouldn't say this is overly complicated. How many video games do they have? And what is the breakdown? Sorry, I was trying to fix my camera. What's the breakdown? So, do they have, I don't know. The last time I went to a pawn shop, I bought all the games. They had 1,800 games. Okay. And out of 1,800 games, 600 of them were PS2, which was a lot of PS2. Like 300 of them were PS3. And let's just say the rest of them were a mix of Xbox, 360s, and there was a few Wii games. Notice I did not say PS4 games. That's right. So, when you're going in to negotiate about buying video games, right, you're looking at purchasing the much older games, and you're shooting to get the diamond in the rough, that nugget, right? So, when I go in and I buy them all, I've spotted a few that are going to be hot sellers. Be prepared to sit on this material. Do not spend thousands of dollars buying video games if you cannot sit on it. I've made a few videos showing all of those games that we have. And we sell a few games every day. I do not put games on Amazon for pennies. Okay? I don't do that, right? So, if I pay $2 for the game, my intention is to sell the game, wait for it, for $2. Right? And if anybody's selling on Amazon, they understand how to make money doing this, right? So do I need to break it down? There's plenty of YouTubers that make videos on how this works, but since I brought it up, I'll explain it. I ship everything for $4.99. Okay, so my video game is $2 plus the $4.99 shipping credit. Well, it cost me $2.88 to ship my video game. So I sell it for the $2 I paid for it, and then I make the difference. And that's how I make money. And I have not ever told anybody that they're going to make tens of thousands, or any of those such things off of this. It is a simple method to get inventory that you can sell. So as long as we all understand, you're not going to go into a pawn shop and buy 1,000 video games and go home and scan them all in, and they're going to start selling tonight and tomorrow, and boom, you're going to wake up and you're going to sell hundreds of games, and your dreams are coming true because you're making $300 or $400 a day in profit. Now, come November 26th, that may be the case. I have seen that happen. It has happened to me. We went months selling a few games a day, and the day after Thanksgiving, the world imploded. I didn't have enough employees to handle the sales. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about you at your house. You want to go in and you want to clean out a pawn shop. First of all, even at what I go in and buy the games for, $2 a piece or $3 a piece or whatever I deem that value is, or whatever I can negotiate it to, they want as much as they can. You want it as cheaply as possible. You go to the manager and you say, "Hi, manager. Here's what I do. I'm going to be me, and you're the manager." And I come up and I'm like, "Hi, I'm Dave, and I want to buy all of your video games. All of them. Right now. How many do you have?" "Well, I don't know how many we have." "Okay, well, let's count them." Then the Jeopardy music's playing in my head. Doon, 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 doon. You know why? Because I spent 3 hours in a pawn shop counting the video games to come up with a number. And then we broke them down by the manufacturer or the system. So we had all these different systems. And then he said, "Well, I want $3.40. And I said, "Well, I want to pay $1.40. Wow, that's, yeah. So then I said, "Okay, well then I understand that's what you want, but let's now talk about," once they talk about what they want, then you say, "What will you take?" And he goes, "Well, I suppose I'll take $2.80. And I said, "Well, I suppose I'll pay $2. That's acceptable. You're going to take them all. I'm going to take them all right now. 1,800 video games, $3,600. That is not something everybody wants to do. I wanted to do it because I wanted a big, fat inventory of video games. Because it's fluff. I like to add fluff into my inventory. It creates diversification. So if I'm not selling anything else, I'll sell a few video games. I sell some other stuff, I don't sell any video games. And then come the season where there's a bunch of ho-ho-hoing going on and jingle belling and folly jollying and all that great stuff that makes all of us online resellers millions or thousands. Or we're just happy to be selling and making money. That's kind of my position. So I had to buy now, because if you wait till November to go into a pawn shop and go, "Hey, Mr. Manager, I want to buy all your video games," he's going to go, "I want $6 a piece." Because he's going to get it. Because all the people that shop in that pawn shop are going to be in there buying those $6 games for presents for whomever they buy presents for. I don't know. So I made my 6,000 game purchase over the last few months. When video game sales did this in the pawn shops, I started making videos. See, and I talk about, over the course of all my videos, seasonal changes, regional purchases, opportunistic purchases. So to gain benefit of all the things that I say, it does require paying attention, because I don't come out and just say things, because giving someone specific instructions on how to do it, right? So I say, "Listen, you go right now and you can tell that manager I want to buy those video games for $2, and he's going to say, "Okay," and you're going to buy them, and you go home and they don't sell. Well, then I'm going to get a bunch of messages. "Oh my gosh, I can't believe I wasted all this money." It takes a little understanding of the movement based on seasonal changes. Like, I buy bathing suits on clearance during the winter. Silly me, right? Sometimes people are buying bathing suits in the winter time because they want to save money. But a lot of people wait until spring to start bathing suit shopping. That's when I want to have up 10,000 bathing suits for sale. It's just me, right? All the things that I say may or may not work for you. So I don't know you. I don't know what works for you. I barely know what works for me. I'm just kidding. I actually know what works for me. So you take what all the advice, and it's a wide variance. There's nothing set in stone. It's when I say, man, I bought and sold a whole bunch of khaki shorts. Well, I bought the khaki shorts maybe during December, and they started selling now. So if you come in, you specifically say, well, when did you buy those items? Well, most of the time it's this answer here. The things that I don't typically get into, because all these things matter so very little that it's always up to you and your buying power. Again, I go back to, I don't know how many people have $3,600 that they're willing to dump into some inventory knowing that it is not going to have a strong movement until November. That's huge, right? We all can't do that. And that's why I never provide that information. There are plenty of YouTubers that provide a whole bunch of information, but again, I say I'm not clear on how well any of it works. I'm not clear on how well any of the things that I could get specific about would work for you individually. Right? I could talk solely about you can buy used clothes and you can sell it, and you can buy used video games, and I've talked about used test equipment, and I think they were trying to get in my video. Did you see that? They were like riding right there. Oh. I've talked about buying and selling iPods and iPads and laptops and all manner of consumer electronic devices, because I can get really specific and say, go in every pawn shop, spend all day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, spend an entire week doing nothing but going in pawn shops, looking for a very specific iPod. I can give you 5 iPods to look for. The chances of you finding more than a handful in a week's time are slim. So I've left that area of expertise up to some other YouTubers that seem to be so good at it, by the way, that are amazing at finding things that are not findable, which makes me very suspicious, by the way. Okay, so you can always look at the current pricing of iPods, and every time you pop into a pawn shop, you have a list of things in your head that I want to look for. I want to look at cameras. I want to look at iPods. I want to look at iPads. I want to look at video games. Say I have 4 things. I want to look at test equipment. I go right around there to the little flukies, and I'm like, ooh, some flukes. I love flukes. I love flukes. Because you can typically buy them from anywhere from $40 to $60, and they sell anywhere online from $80 to $120. All right? Cameras, camcorders, video cameras, any name you want to call a camera. If it can take a picture, a motion picture, a video picture. I've had people go, well, I looked through the cameras and I just can't find anything. But there was a Sony Handycam there and I just wasn't sure. I feel weird getting on my phone and looking up the pricing of something. Do not feel weird about it. You're not the only one that wants to buy something and resell it. Pull out your phone. You type in the camera number. It's right there, right? And they want, $80 for it. And you look it up and it's selling for $120. That's $40. So then you go, hi, Mr. Manager. I would like to purchase that camera for $60. And suddenly they go, okay. Or they say, nope. So you've checked 3 or 4 cameras, and it's quite possible you found 2 out of the 4. And you'd like to buy those 2 cameras, and this is what you would like to pay. You have to be reasonable you're not going to go, hey man, I want to buy this camera for $20 because I'm going to sell it online for $120. And then you get yourself all, I'm going to use a dirty word here, butt hurt, because you can't steal something from a pawn shop. There's a lot of common sense that has to come into play as to what is reasonable. How would you want to be treated if you were in that position? If you were the one that owned the camera and somebody come along and you're like, I want $80 for my camera, and you looked on eBay and you saw the camera was selling for $120, well, you're not an eBay guy. Pawn shops are not eBay guys. So they're like, well, we can't put it on eBay. So, you know, we have to sell to our local market. So our local market on this camera is very small. So we have to lower the price to be competitive in a local market. And then you come in, you're Mr. Global Market because you're Mr. eBay guy, and you can simply come in and go, I'll give you $50. They're not going to take it. I wouldn't take it. You wouldn't take it. You bought that camera, and you bought the, let's say you stole it. Today's episode is how to steal cameras from pawn shops. You steal it. You get it for $25, and you put that camera up for $120, and you put it up for take offers. Can you guess what I'm going to say next? Somebody sends you the most offensive offer of $50. Reject. Bloop. You're not even going to counter offer it. You're just like, what? Are you out of your mind? It's funny how we consider people out of their minds when they give us an insulting offer, but when we're the ones that are throwing out those insulting offers, that's okay. Well, in the world that I operate in, I always stand, hey, would you mind getting out of those shoes? Let me stand in those shoes a second. And I look at things from your point of view. If you can't look at things from both sides, maybe you're in the wrong business. Because you have to have a clear idea of what you want to achieve, what you're trying to gain, what you're willing to give up, and still make a profit that you can live with. So I'm going to talk in generic terms. I bought a thing, and this thing was very expensive. I bought a thing that I looked up the retail value on, and this is going to, wait, I'm going to be watching for the comments. People are like, oh my God, that's crazy. What are you doing? Right. So I bought this thing for $30,000. Well, I looked up the value of this thing, and this thing looked to be moving on the market for $150,000. That is a payday. That's huge. So I put my thing out for sale, and along come a buyer of the thing, and the buyer says, well, I'll give you $49,500. I was so insulted. I'm like, what? I didn't say it. So that's the difference right there. I didn't put it on my face. I was like, hater blockers on. Bloop. And so I'm thinking $29,500. So then I'm like, can I put you on hold real quick? Put them on hold. And I'm like, $29,000 for something I spent $30,000 on. Well, you know, I really thought I was going to sell it for a lot more because I was being incredibly greedy. See, I'm breaking my own rules right there. So I said, nope, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to sell. I'm going to sell right now, and I hope they sell it for $150. Good luck, not going to be my problem. Pick the phone back up. Yep, I'll take it. Boom, sent me an order, sent it, shipped out the thing. And, and I'll get paid for the thing. So when it comes to buying and selling things or widgets, it doesn't matter what the thing is. What can you live with? What can you give up to make the sale? See, everything that we do is sales. And as you buy more and sell more, you get better at negotiating from the supply side to the end, to the user side. So you get where you can go into a pawn shop, and without even, you can look over the landscape, look at all the video games, right? I go into that pawn shop, I'm like, man, you guys have got 1,800 video games in there. So I don't even bring up the rest of it, because again, it goes into, this is loosely based on my understanding, and as much as I want to teach everybody how to buy like I do, you don't have the money, you don't have the risk tolerance, or you don't have a broad enough understanding to negotiate a deal that makes sense. So when I started with the video games, they were at $3.40. Now, what I explained is how I worked it down to where I got to $2. But there is another part to the story. Whoa, the suspense, we're waiting for it. See, now we're just gonna we got the Jeopardy music playing right now. You want to pick what's behind door number 1 or door number? Okay, enough of that. Right. So while I was there, I was waiting on the manager to get a count of the video games, because my count was just a rough estimate, because they had them in on like bookshelves of 100 each. There's 18 bookshelves, so give or take. So there was like 1,823. I was trying to get 23 free games. See, today's episode is how to steal video games from pawn shops. Okay. So while he was doing that, I start going over my list of my 5 very important things in a pawn shop. So at that point, I have to start walking up and down the aisles. And I'm looking, and then I cruise right over, and boom, 2 flukes right there. And I pull out my phone, and I go, bloop, look what? Whoa, these flukes are selling for $90 each. They want 40 bucks for them. So I pick them up, and I take them over, and I put them right next to my video games. And then I go, and there's some iPods. So I get another associate to, hey, could I get those 3 right there? So I get these 3, and out of those 3 was 160 gig iPod Classic. Whoa. See, that is the special one. That's the one that sells for, I don't know, I'm going to go out on a limb here, like, I don't know, $300. It's pretty ridiculous. Awesome, right? So take those, and I put them up there. So I got my 3 iPods, and I got my 2 flukes, and then I cruise over to the cameras. That's right, over to the camera section, Sony something via, I looked up the name, it don't even matter. I looked up the number, it was something dash 121. They wanted 80 for it. It was selling for $90. I'll take that. Yep, only $10. Because when I got to the register, now I go back up to the manager, and I got my camera, my 3 iPods, my 2 flukes, and my 1,823 games. So, now, where are we at price-wise? So, I'm willing to pay $2 a game. The camera that you want 80 for, I'll give you 40. The flukes you got for 40, I'm going to give you 25. The iPods, I'm going to pay you full boat price, which was already a deal, because he was already $25 underneath what they were selling for. So it didn't really matter at that point. So what he heard was, wow, he got what he wanted. How much am I willing to give to get what I want? How much is he willing to give to get what he wants? So I walked out of there very satisfied. So my iPods, I ended up selling, and 160 gig iPod, they had $150 on it already, so it didn't really matter. It needed to be formatted. I went home, I cleaned up, formatted it, did the, reset it. It didn't matter. Put it up for sale. I want to say it sold for like $290. That's pretty good, huh? Yep, that's pretty good, right? The other 2, I made like $100 combo off the other 2. Sold the flukes, made 50 bucks a piece off of those. So 100, $200, $350, $350, and then the camera ended up making $50, $60 on that. So what was that, $410? So then you take that profit that I made on those items, which was pretty good, $410. So could I have bought those items at those prices without buying the video games? We'll never know, will we? Because that's not how I buy. Now, you can certainly go in and you could grab the camera, the flukes, and you buy a few things and you can ask for a deal, and sometimes they'll do it and sometimes they won't. He could have easily said no to all of it. And then I wouldn't have such a great story to tell. I would have no story to tell. I'd be talking about, well, you know, I had to fire an employee today. Those stories aren't interesting. But that story is interesting because of just the level of complexity of how we achieved what we wanted, how we got what we wanted by asking. Can you make a deal with managers and Salvation Armies and Goodwills? No. After you go there 100 times? No. But maybe. See? So, you go to thrift stores, you go to pawn shops. The first time you walk in, it's difficult. But because he had so much stuff, we're best friends now. I got his number, he texts me, I text him. I could make some bad jokes there, but so he's like, hey man, I just picked up 50 video games. I'm like, hey, do you really want me to come down and get those 50 video games? No, just wait. I mean, as soon as I get, 1,000 video games. Great, another thought. But I back it up and say, listen, I'm not paying $2 a piece for this junk. And he goes, no, I'm going to give them to you for $1.50. Woo, 50 cent baby. Right? Okay. These are the things that I do, and this is what I think. You have to be able to say, I cannot give this up to get this. What can you live with? I don't know what you can afford. What makes sense to you? How much money you need to make versus how much you can afford to carry in inventory, and the amount of turn time it requires to turn this material. There is no magic formula. You're not going to make money without working or investing money. And all these people on Instagram and Twitter and YouTube spewing a whole bunch of malarkey. That's such a good word. I really like that word, malarkey. There are some other words I could use, but I'm trying to make sure that my show stays family friendly. Yes, that is correct. I can only point out my observations on what I see. And maybe I'm looking at it from a different angle. I'm looking at it from the I don't believe the garbage angle. But millions of people want to believe with everything in their heart that it is possible to make money without investing time or money. It's not possible. You can invest time in building, an online business, drop shipping. I'll make a video on the drop shipping portion. It's crazy to actually make money. I don't even want to start about it. So you can invest time in building your blog, your website, but the reality is what you want to do is you want to take items and post them on Facebook to your friends, and hopefully your friends will retweet them, and you find groups that you can sell items in. You sell items on Instagram. You put stuff on what's that platform? eBay. Yeah, that's it. You put stuff up there for sale because they don't have all the restrictions that Amazon does. And you start making a little bit of money. If you have to live off that money, it makes things complicated. Because the way to start is by making extra money. And with the extra money, you get to where you're making more money. And that goes into the video I made yesterday that I don't think I posted yet. A trickery. I'll be posting a video yesterday. I shouldn't even include this. This is silly. Yep. So I made a video, and my video is about how there's all these online marketplaces that you can work from home at your computer, making extra money, and then I suggest taking that little bit of extra money and buying inventory that you can sell on eBay, and then you do that over and over and over and over and over and over and over. Hopefully one of these days I'll be watching your videos. I'm Dave, and this was Drive Time, and I will see you soon.